Hello, everyone. Welcome to Toy Talkin' Stuff, my online museum. And today we're going to talk about Dave Bautista because there just isn't enough we can say about Dave Bautista. He's been in over 30 movies. He participated in mixed martial arts for one match and won. Of course, we all know him as the wrestler Batista, which he did for quite a number of years. But more recently, and for quite a while, at least since 2010, he's been acting. He's 6'4" or 6'6", depending on what you believe, and anywhere between 265 and 290. He's been in so many movies: Wrong Side of Town, Man with the Iron Fist, My Spy, Army of the Dead, Glass Onion, Dune, Blade Runner, Knock at the Cabin, of course, Guardians of the Galaxies and the other Avengers movies, Riddick, Kickboxer, Vengeance, Marauders, Heist, Suicide Squad, The House of the Rising Sun. So just a lot of movies, and has played a lot of diverse characters, and certainly very much more varied than John Cena and The Rock at this point. He's really going for a lot more dramatic roles. But what I think is fun is that there are a lot of different Dave Bautista action figures. So I'm going to start with the first one that we would have seen him in the WWE as Deacon Bautista. So here is a Jakks Pacific Deacon Bautista, young Bautista action figure, and closed fist, but open palm. So he's like, hey, it's okay. Everything's going to be all right. But if you don't think it's going to be all right, I got something to back it up with. So, he's got pretty good articulation. He's got a tie that can flap a little bit. This is one of the more basic Jakks Pacific figures without the legs, the hip articulation, but does have some feet articulation as well. So there you go, Deacon Bautista. And as he continued to wrestle in the WWE, this is another Jakks Pacific figure. So this is also not the elite figure that one could purchase. This is him. He's really, come into his own as a wrestler, and still not the lateral hip articulation, but you can see the legs are all bulked out there. And, this one does have a little bit of a hard time standing, but, he's starting to get some tattoos. You see that? And you got the big dragon tattoo on the back. And see his lat muscles. He actually had to have surgery to remove part of his lat muscle to rebuild his tricep. So he had a lot of muscle tears, and that's one of the reasons why he got out of wrestling, because it's just really brutal on the body. And later, they made a more advanced wrestling action figure, the Ruthless Aggression Jakks Pacific action figure. And I'm making a point to tell you Jakks Pacific because the later WWE figures were not made by that company. They were made by Mattel. So, but there was some disagreement about ownership of the molds between WWE and Jakks Pacific, and that ended that relationship. And now Jakks Pacific makes wrestling figures for AEW. But this is the Ruthless Aggression, and it's more like an elite figure. You have articulation in the waist and also turns, and you have the lateral hip articulation, more detail, just through the ankles and how it articulates. You have the double knees, so more articulation there. And, other than that, it's pretty much the same. And we can compare it with the more basic Jakks Pacific figure. So it's the same body, but you see you don't have that extra torso joint. You don't have the double knees. These are just the one hinge knees. The arms are the same, but you can see the tattoo is similar, but actually it's a little bit more complete on the more basic figure, and much brighter actually. But that's what you get. Now, what's cool about this figure here is that you have this barbell that shoots the weights off, so it actually can shoot both ends. So, like a bazooka barbell. Who wants to be hit by? Well, that's 245s, a 25, and a 10, and then the collar is like 5 pounds. So, you're looking at like a good 130 pounds getting hit on each end. And then the bar is normally 45 pounds. So, you can swing that around too. And look, it even has this belly button tattoo. How nice. So, compared to this, this is, again, a basic WWE figure now. You don't have the lateral hip articulation, but it's a different scale. And they are all, the WWE figures didn't make just basic, like this is this body for this guy and this body for that guy as much. They had more variety to try to mold the body more specific to the wrestler. They also did laser scan on the face, and you could see much more complex tattooing art. So this is a Mattel figure. You can see it's much more ripped, more defined, the muscles, but it's smaller. But it's meant to scale with all the other wrestling figures in height and size, so you can see the tattoos much more detailed. But there's a lot of good with these Jakks-specific ones, so I'm not really saying one's a lot better than another. Well, we also have an interesting 2-pack. Not Tupac, but a 2-pack here. So this is the fantasy match that never happened. WrestleMania 30 fantasy match, and it's Brock Lesnar versus Batista. And now you can see a lot more tattoos on Batista, and now he's sporting a beard. And you can see in the picture, though, his head's all shaved. And, Brock Lesnar's, known to be very tough and scary, but he really looks like he doesn't want a piece of this match. I mean, he looks shocked. He looks like, who, me? I don't want to fight the Animal Batista, as he was known. And I think Brock Lesnar would just love to turn tail and run away. And so here's the back of that package there. Batista looks like, take it or leave it. Sure, I'll take him out. And Brock looks like, help. Right, so this has been around since 2014, so quite a while just sitting there. And you can even get a Dave Bautista I Walk Alone DVD 3-disc set. And he certainly has blazed his own path in various industries, trying different things, and, really sometimes struggling financially to make his dreams come true. And it's really great that he's done that. And, all right, the last wrestling figure. Get ready for this. Got to move the camera back. And it's a big, giant 14-inch Ring Giants posable Dave Bautista 13 points of articulation action figure. And you can see this is earlier in his career where he didn't have as many tattoos, and he's still yelling about something. I mean, he is just always yelling and angry. So there you go. Big, giant Dave Bautista in the box. And you'd think, well, maybe one day this will be worth something, a lot of money. Not really. It's like $35. So you could still get one. There he is, closed mouth, smiling Batista. About time we see him, smiling. All right. Well, most of you certainly know Dave as Drax the Destroyer. So we're going to start out with cute Drax. And here we go. We have our mini-mates, Drax and Gamora. And he's like a little Blockbot exclusive at Walgreens. So if you don't have that, you probably will never get it. So there he is, cute Drax. All right, so got this a few years ago. And there's the whole set you could get. Cole Obsidian, I remember that guy, and Hulkbuster. So I have several. I have some of these guys. All right. So there we go. Well, now we're going to get to the action figures Drax the Destroyer, and let's go all the way back to the early 2000s Toy Biz, when Toy Biz was making the figures. And here's a Drax the Destroyer. Now this is long before Bautista became Drax, and Toy Biz, which also made those talking Spider-Man figures that I had, made really highly articulated figures in the early 2000s, 2003, 2006, and they were making the Marvel figures. So look, it has the double elbows, and figures like this were only about $9-10, and you have, you know, your weapons there, and you can stick the knives in his belt, and they both go behind him. And then you have, you know, a head that articulates actually in multiple dimensions. Not only does it go up and down and look around, but you see that joint there? You can kind of go back and forth with it. So you can go like guh, 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 guh. All right, so he can do that. And look, he even has like a wrist knife. And you have the double knees. So, and look, the ball joints for the hips. So you got a lot of action figure with Toy Biz back in the early 2000s. And I've said that with any time I've done a video like Hulks or anything with Toy Biz early 2000s, just awesome figures. But it doesn't look like Dave Bautista, right? Because he wasn't making movies or wasn't Drax. So there's another one. Here's another Drax figure, Diamond Select, and also really not modeled after Dave Bautista, but a pretty cool figure. It has the torso joint here. It still doesn't have quite as well-moving articulation as the Jakks Pacific one. It does have the double knees, and it does have similar articulation. The head doesn't articulate as much, and the torso doesn't articulate as much, but it looks better because of that joint looks better. But, you know, it's a great figure. It's just a little stiffer, too. Different kind of hips, not the ball joint. This is actually a hip design that DC action figures had often made. You see the difference? Like this is, it's a hinge here, and then it just goes forward, and then it hinges out like that. And then you have in the middle of the thigh, you have your twist here. This one you have the ball joint, which moves all around, and the twist is higher up. And it's you know, there's some pluses and minuses. This works better. In some ways looks better up, I think, in the hip, but and actually in a way it's a little better, I think, with the way the quad connects, but you have sort of the gapping. This, when the legs are close, then that looks more natural. It looks more natural from the back and stuff. So, you know, it's just a different way to do it. But all right, let's go to before I finish up here. So this Drax the Destroyer came with a sword that I cannot find right now. It's got like a hilt with spikes on the front of the fist, and it's a big thick sword that has like ridges, like a saw blade on it. I know I gave that to some action figure, and I haven't been able to find it right now. But it's got this big lollipop-looking battle axe, and it comes with different hands. So you can just pull the hands off and change them to the grabbing hands, or you can change it to these I'm going to get you hands. It's got the I'm going to get you hands, right? So that's what you can do with this Drax. And Drax is really powerful. Depending on what's happened to him in the comic books, he can lift 40 to over 100 tons. So it just depends. Apparently, at some point, he can rip apart planets. So you have to be really strong for that. All right. So now we're going to go to the very, this is like the $6 Guardians of the Galaxy figures. Now, this is meant to look like Dave Bautista. Kind of does, right? And you have those elbows that swivel and then bend. So, but you don't have shoulders that move. But you can go like that. So that gives you a little bit of lateral articulation. No lateral hips, but then again, this was inexpensive, and you can pull out knives, boot knives, right? So it's kind of cute, pretty good figure. Still got the Bautista lats. Actually, look, take a look. See that? It's actually pretty similar there. And lats are the muscles that attach here, right? Okay, and then the early Guardians of the Galaxy figure from like the first movie, one of the really nice ones, is this one. Looks a lot like Dave Bautista and has the articulation of a WWE Elite figure, right? You have the double elbows, you have the double knees. Now this is Mattel, and so is WWE at this point. So it really is just the same design. You have, the swivel and the torso articulation, and then you have these, this again. You have similar blades that he keeps dropping, so you got to be careful not to lose those. But then they can stick into his boot, and so they have a little bit of maybe that's just a design, not blood, right? On them. And all right, so all the tattooing, and it looks a lot like Dave Bautista, starting to, right? Okay. Still not as much as the wrestler, though. I still think if you compare it to the wrestling head here, this looks more like Dave Bautista. So I know it's the makeup and everything, but I still think it doesn't. And I'll tell you, because here, when I got the very best Dave Bautista action figure, it really looks like him. And that really looks a lot like Dave Bautista. Not only the face and head, but the body. He really has like very sloping trapezius muscles, and his pecs are definitely lower like that. And Dave, because his arms are not as huge in proportion to his shoulders as some other weightlifters. That's just partially his body type, and perhaps also from just injuries and things that he's had to recover from. But still a big, powerful guy. And now that he's not in wrestling, he can, heal, take his time to heal. But very fine figure. You have your double knees. You have that other hinge joint swivel. Okay, looks like they wanted to go with that, for how it would look better for the figure, and just kind of a better statue in a way. And I love this. I've never seen this before. Look at how the bicep connects to the shoulder. That's a first. I mean, very inconspicuous. So, normally it is a much more conspicuous joint. This one actually, it does have it, you see? And you can see how it's, it's very obvious swivel joint there. But this is, really blended in. And I just think that they really went a whole nother level to pay attention to detail on that, So, all right. And our last Dave Bautista figure is a little bit of a mishmash of his Dune figure. So you had to buy several Dune figures to make the Dave Bautista. He played Glasso Rabban in Dune, and you'd get the head and the arms, and then you'd have to buy something else I didn't really want to buy to get the body. So what I did is I used the Raven Spawn body, which was similar to what it looked like anyway in Dune, but I didn't really like Raven Spawn, and apparently no one else does because they're on clearance all over the place or sit on the shelves. So I took the Raven Spawn arms off, which you can put in warm water, take them off, and put on the Rabban arms. Okay, they just snap right in very well and work just fine. And the Rabban arms come with the sword and the whip. Okay, and then you just mount the head, and it looks great. And you got your your legs and torso and everything from the Raven Spawn, and it's just a cool figure. I think it's actually a little taller than it would be as Rabban, which is still really cool, right? And actually, it's just a really big figure, even bigger than our biggest WWE figure of that scale. So just really awesome, right? So, all right, there you go. All the Bautista you can handle, and maybe more Bautista than you ever wanted. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, and look forward to talking to you again. Thanks. Take care.